Well, hello everyone and welcome to our webinar today. It's called Accessing the Curriculum with Clicker. And we're, even though we're going to be showing you features, we really want to emphasize how this software can be used to help students access curriculum content and be able to express themselves within that curriculum content in a way that's scaffolded to meet their needs. So I'm excited to be here today with Tony Caggiano. My name is Rose Roscoe. I'm an occupational therapist, an AT specialist, and I've worked in the school district for about 36 years and currently working just for Special Ed Tech Center. And Tony, you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Tony. I am the U.S. Sales Manager at Crick. I have been working with specifically Washington collaborators at Cricksoft pushing 8 years now. So I've worked with Rose and several other districts to get Clicker not only acquired by the district, but implemented successfully. So I'm really excited to talk about how you guys can support your students and access the curriculum with Clicker.
If you don't have access to Clicker right now and you're excited about what you hear today, SETC for the first time has some lending library licenses for Clicker, and we can talk more about that later, but there's a way for you to get some extended trial time with Clicker through SETC. So that's another reason we're going to be doing more webinars, because we really want you to know about this. And we really feel like it meets a need that's not being met right there, especially for emerging, and early writers. So.
All right. So our agenda today, Rose.
Yeah, so we're going to give an overview, assuming some of you are new to Clicker. We'll talk about what is Clicker. Clicker has a wonderful repository of activities that are pre-made because teachers don't have time, right, to create stuff all the time. So we're going to talk about LearningGrids. We're going to talk about all the different options for expression. It's not just typing and it's not just word prediction. There's tons of different options for expression. We're going to give you some practical ways that you might implement Clicker in the classroom and talk about some of those. And we want to hear your ideas too. So as you hear us talk about ideas, we also want to hear from you out there in the classroom to see if you've had some success with Clicker in different ways. We're going to talk about how can you get access to Clicker if you don't, and how can we support you? Maybe you have Clicker, but you just need to get your team on board and you need more training and support help. So we hope to cover all those topics today. All right, so there's always got to be some objectives. We want to make sure that you can name at least 2 ways that the multimedia features of Clicker and Clicker apps can support diverse learning needs and inclusion of students in gen ed classrooms. I went to a fantastic conference all day yesterday on digital equity, and I feel like Clicker is a great tool to create that environment of having our students being able to be included and access that gen ed content in a way where they have the support to do it. So we'll talk more about that. Being able to look at those features and compare and contrast how you might customize the Clicker features to help the needs of emerging writers as well as intermediate writers. So Clicker has a wide span of variability and adaptability to students who are switch users and are starting to write, all the way to students who are writing sentences and just need word bank and word prediction support. So all your elementary needs and a lot of high school kids that need that extra support, special ed, ELL can also benefit. And finally, again, there are ways to create activities quickly and easily from templates or from scratch, but there's this huge library that we want you to understand how to select pre-made content from the LearningGrids library, and we'll demonstrate that for you today. I just want to say about Clicker, this is 2023. I've been probably using Clicker for 20 years. I started using Clicker when it was Clicker 4 back in the Kent School District. And it was purchased as part of a full software suite on every laptop we had. They didn't know it had all these cool features. They just thought it would be great for every student. So it started as a UDL tool for every student in that district I was in. And then later, I ended up getting excited about it, taking classes and realizing what a great tool this was for students that needed extra scaffolding support. So I've kind of been a fan ever since. I actually did a research project on Clicker. Later, I might be able to share a little bit about some of that. So, Tony, you want to give us some more info
Yeah,
about clickers?
absolutely. Absolutely. So, in this next section here, we're going to go over what is Clicker, what are learning grids, what can we use in Clicker to support the writing process, and then how can we support teachers and facilitators with pre-made resources. If you are brand new to Clicker, it's a speech-supported word processor at its heart. And what I mean by that, when I come into the document here, this functions as you would see Word or Google Docs, but with UDL in mind. So we're trying to support all levels of learners from a central resource of Clicker. We have the supportive word processor as well as the resources that Rose and I have been alluding to in LearningGrids. And Clicker supports the entirety of the writing process, so planning, writing, and revising. We're going to touch on alternate forms of expression a little later on. While I call it a speech supported word processor, it is much more, and it definitely gives students the ability to interact and display knowledge in ways that they might not be able to otherwise. And Clicker is available on Windows computers, Mac computers, iPads, and Chromebooks. Our universal licensing allows for districts to adopt a single license or a district-wide license and support a variety of users across devices. Rose, anything you want to add there?
Yeah. Can you tell me about all those tabs on the right side of that slide there? What's that all about?
Yes, yes. So I'm actually in Clicker right now. I am in a Clicker board. Its heart Clicker board is a graphic organizer. I have used a plain Clicker board to create this presentation here. So while of course Clicker is a way for students to engage with the curriculum and their writing, it's also a whole class teaching tool. And today you guys are the class, and Rose and I are the teachers using Clicker to outline what we're going to go through. Rose, when I brought this idea to you, I wasn't sure if you were going to like it because we were using the custom sets before. And I was concerned that on this side, as we know, we're always going for as accessible as possible. And I wasn't sure if this was going to meet that need, but you said that you enjoyed this because it's giving you guys an idea of where we're at in the presentation. So at this point, we have a while to go, but you'll see as we move along through the content.
Well, I'll just say one more thing about this page. At the bottom, do you see all those tabs along the bottom of the screen? Tony, within Clicker, we're able to open the other activities we're going to show you later and have them all open and ready. So you could literally open a series of activities for your student and have like 5 activities open. They can complete the first one, click on the next tab, do the next one. So it's easy to move around between activities. So I just wanted to say, here's a real-time example of kind of some of the benefits of using Clicker when you're have a student on and you want them to do multiple activities that are related. So,
absolutely. Great. All right, moving right along to LearningGrids. So LearningGrids is a resource bank of pre-made curriculum-based resources. These are made in-house by our curriculum team. You guys could see I had an old search up there. And what we have in LearningGrids, these are curriculum-based resources that are available for download and use by anyone who has Clicker. We can search by curriculum topic. We have our collections as well as our story corner with traditional stories, and then what we would call Clicker stories. But what I really want to get across before we jump into an actual example is how we upload to LearningGrids. So I'm going to use science and solar system as an example here. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for us, make a little bit more use of the space here. Okay, so what I have in front of me is the phases of the moon topic. And while you can use LearningGrids to search one-off topics to find a single writing resource or a single graphic organizer for your class or your students, we're uploading to LearningGrids to support content and curriculum topic delivery. So with Phases of the Moon, this mimics how we're uploading to LearningGrids across the curriculum. So we have several books. We have a read a book, a read it yourself, several make a books. We're hinting at that alternate form of expression for later, giving students the ability to create their own books. We have sentence sets, which we're going to get into, talk sets, graphic organizers, and word banks. So what I'm getting at here is you have a pack of resources to support your students or your student groups. And this is how we upload all of our topics as a way for you to introduce and then get students to interact with specific topics. And that's what I have here in the LearningGrids topic outline. So we're going to get into an actual example of this for anyone who's super new to Clicker, but we offer several styles of books. And a Clicker book is a great way to introduce a topic. We have a book that is speech supported or a book that is not, so we could expect students to read that themselves. We have a talk set, which allows students to verbalize new vocabulary and content or verbally reinforce what it is that they've learned. Matching sets. We have different writing grids so students can write at a level that makes sense to them. And then we have several ways for students to demonstrate their knowledge further than just writing about it. Before I get into the Clicker document and the example using the Great Barrier Reef, Rose, what do you have to add here?
Well, I just wanted to say, like, okay, so I'm an OT, and I know there's at least one other OT out there, and a lot of your teachers. A lot of teachers already are practicing using graphic organizers as a planner and a brainstorming tool before students get to writing. So Clickerboard is awesome because you can use these templates as a planning tool to have your topic in the middle and be brainstorming words. In fact, you could even be typing the words and the student tells them to you verbally to help set them up for the writing experience later. You can also use Clicker boards to do a learn about it activity. So maybe I know there's one that has a picture of a pirate with all these labels, and you can then type in and label the different parts. So it can be an expression or demonstrate knowledge, but it also is a great brainstorming tool. So you notice, we have these 6 areas, but they're not necessarily always in that order. Sometimes you might mix them up. Clickerboard, Clickerbook is a representation, a UDL representation tool. It's also now an expression tool with those Clicker books that students can actually create. And they're pretty easy. Most people are like, ooh, books, that's a lot harder. I think Clicker books is as easy or easier than even just a plain Clicker document. So I highly encourage you to check into that if you haven't used Clicker books in the past. All right, that's all I'm going to say about that. We can keep going, but
of course, no, that's great, Rose. And I want to just build on what you said about the general topic outline. I have Clickerboard in this example at the end to demonstrate knowledge, but I do have this example here. This is the Phases of the Moon Clickerboard, and when I talk about this overall Phases of the Moon topic, I love the idea of beginning a topic with the Clickerboard, kind of like the K and the KWL. Let's figure out what the class knows first, or what the student group knows about this topic first. So this can all be switched up. Maybe you take something out, you add something else, but this is a general topic outline.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump into the document. I have this here really for the purposes of the presentation, but we're going to select the Clicker document here in our top left of our ribbon. And as I said, this functions the way you would expect it to when I say word processor. Before we get into the Great Barrier Reef topic, I just want to highlight the support portion of the ribbon here. This is really what makes our document different from Google Docs or different from Microsoft Word. So if you're new to Clicker, what you should there we go. What you should know is that speech support is really a backbone feature. So a default here, once I punctuate,
the coral sea is clear, shallow tur.
It's going to automatically read that back to me, as well as highlight the text. As it is a word processor, I've spelled something wrong. It's giving me that universal underline for something is wrong here. I could either right click and get my suggestions, which are also speech supported.
Water.
Or I can select the ABC check in the support portion of the ribbon, and this is going to allow for larger target areas. This is great for our younger kiddos who might not know how a word processor works. They might not know to look for that underline. This is great for our switch users or just users who need a larger target area. So
the coral sea is clear, shallow water.
Speech support is working. I will spell check complete that and we're good to go there. I want to jump back to this icon here, the 1, 2, 3 icon in the support portion of the ribbon, as well as in the different activities that we're going to get to is our word prediction here. So we are offering inward, next word, and phonetic word prediction with Clicker. And these features, I spend the time to go through these options here because they'll be available in the Clicker books. They'll be available in the Clicker board, where we're ensuring that these supports are made accessible throughout the different aspects of the program, so that if students get used to using word prediction here in the document, they're not then stripped of that when they enter the Clicker board. The final option here, which is key to some of our sets, including the Clicker book and the talk set, is the voice note. And this allows for both students and teachers to record their voice. I say students, teachers, facilitators, however you're supporting students, you can record your voice. So as a facilitator, I might use this to record comments, suggestions, directions on an assignment. And then as a student, I might use this to brainstorm for writing.
Can I insert
Please,
a comment?
I see you, Rose. Come on.
I know. See, you can see me. So a lot of people say, well, does this have speech to text? And I will say that when I'm teaching dictation, some students get frustrated, especially younger students or beginning, more beginning age, because it takes what they say doesn't show up as correct. Then they have to go back and edit and they just get too frustrated. But starting with a voice note is actually a great beginning skill for learning dictation later, because they're learning to think their thought, say it, record it, and then it comes back errorless. It's that whatever they said is what records. And then they can go back and listen to that, think through what they want to say, and then still practice typing, because ultimately students are not probably going to replace writing and typing with dictation. It's an augmentative tool. So they still have to learn typing with word prediction as well as dictation. So I really feel like this is a great starting point for students to do a little brainstorming. If the typing is a struggle, yet I think they still need both. That's my personal philosophy. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Definitely. That's a great idea for using voice notes, Rose. I typically say when I talk about the voice note, I'll tell you what it's not, and it is not dictation. However, in recent years, we have allowed for compatibility. If you are looking for dictation, if that's a need that one of your students has, you could use the device dictation, and that will work within Clicker. But the reason it is not available as a Clicker feature is exactly why, or exactly what Rose just said, and that's for many of our users, it wouldn't be an appropriate support.
Although, isn't there, if you're using Clicker Writer on an iPad, there still is the built-in microphone.
It's built
on the
in.
Keyboard.
It is.
So you can use it. If you're on an iPad, you will be able to do speech to text using the iPad keyboard feature of speech to text, and it will work within Clicker Writer. So there's a caveat there if you really want to do that. Okay.
Yes. Okay, so that's there, the ability to record. Anytime you see this icon, that's going to be the ability to record. just show you what it looks like when we pop it in the document here. It's going to sit on the document here. Anytime you record, it turns into a speech bubble, and you guys will see this in some of the additional resources that we run through. So back to our main piece here, I'm really using this as a guide. I'm about to go through the Great Barrier Reef topic. So just to reinforce here, in the top left corner and into LearningGrids, what I've done here to find the resources I'm about to show you is just search Great Barrier. And you'll see that we have several resources for the Great Barrier Reef. Before I get into that in its entirety, I just want to show you, if you come into Clicker Set and New, this is where you would create any of these resources from scratch. However, we want to give you guys a place to start, especially if you end up working with SETC and us at Crick to launch a trial. We want you guys to know where to begin. So into the document here, as Rose said, I have all of my resources open in the bottom. So like I said, I think it's great to start any topic with a book. So this specific book, it's called a read-a-book. When you come into any of the read-a-books that are downloaded from LearningGrids, you're going to see several sentences on a page, as well as a picture with our speak text icon, our read aloud icon.
The Great Barrier Reef is a long coral formation on the northeast coast of Australia.
And this is how all of the read-a-books function. We have text on a page with images that are going to become familiar throughout the topic, vocabulary words that will become familiar throughout the topic, and the ability to have this read aloud to the user. We have other books available that strip away the speech support and provide something that's a little bit more straightforward. What I want you to know about anything that's downloaded from LearningGrids is that it could be customized. So in this example with my read-a-book, if I download this and I think, you know what, the student that I'm working with or the group that I'm working with, I want to challenge them a little bit. I want to take away the speech support. I could very easily just edit that right out. And now it's exactly what you need for your group. So with any book, no matter the topic, Rose, go ahead.
I was just going to say a couple quick things about Clicker books. I think if you have any students who are switch users that need to work on one or two switches, Clicker books are super easy to program because it's right arrow, left arrow, or speaker. 3 choices they can scroll between, go between and then choose. And even if they're just hitting a switch to read the book with the speaker, it's awesome. If you have a student who has finger touch, but they're really not a reader yet, they can touch any word on their screen and it'll read back to them. So just a great interactive thing to do on a smartboard or with switches as it, getting some information in that representation part of UDL where they're, getting their background info. So if you haven't done a lot with Clicker books, it's a great tool for a lot of reasons and very flexible and adaptable. So
agree. Thank you for that, Rose.
Mm-hmm.
With Great Barrier Reef, I'm using the book as an example to get started. This can be used to get started with any topic, science, math, ELA. We will then move into a talk set. And with this, you could see, like I said, those images that we just saw in the book, they're here in the talk set. When you select one of the images, you're going to get access to that voice note that we discussed earlier. So this allows for students to verbalize what they see in the picture, talk about what it is that they just learned in that book. They're going to be addressing new vocabulary in different aspects related to new topics. This allows them to get into the habit of talking about what it is that they just read. From there, we're going to move into the different writing sets. So we have 3 levels writing grids within our clicker sets here. So these are what I would call like baseline levels, and then you could further differentiate within the editing of those sets. I'm showing you these real basics today just to get your feet wet on these. Understand that you could customize in so many different ways. So we have a sentence set, which is for our most emergent writers. This is going to provide students with the words that they need to create a sentence and a corresponding paragraph. We move all the way up on the other side of the spectrum to our independent writers who need access to topic-specific vocabulary. And then we have a connect set, which provides scaffolded writing for the students who can fall anywhere between that. So we're supporting a wide range of learners with the writing grids here. Please,
Okay.
Rose.
Oh, thank you. So quick, can you show that one screen that you were just on again? This is a great place for me to insert. So even way back in 2009, when I did my research study, how I set up the lesson is every student in that class had the same book or the same topic. And then we had pre-selected writing activities at all the levels. So we had a really basic sentence set, we had a more involved connect set, and we had word banks so that students across writing abilities could all be engaged in writing at their level on their computer. So the beauty of this is if your student wants to be included into a gen ed classroom, you know, maybe the higher level students are just composing on their own with just a word bank. But then your student could be doing a sentence set. If they need switches, they could be on a switch, or they could just be touching the words to sequence them, or they could have a model sentence. So the beauty of what you see right there is that you can have all those available as an option, and students can choose what they want at the level they want to do. And that's what I did in my research study. It worked beautifully. And that was 14 years ago. And it's still, you know, available and even more enhanced today. So
excellent. Yeah. As Rose said, you know, you have the choice, and you also are prepared with learning grids to support all of those different students. So again, we're still in the Great Barrier Reef topic. What I have open here is a sentence set. This is going to put all of these words in cells, and on a single grid, which is this page here, we're going to achieve a single sentence.
Coral is a slow-growing organism.
Once the student hears that back, they can move to the next sentence within the grid, or excuse me, the next grid within the set. With our sentence sets, we offer different models, different word orders. So this one comes with what we call a view and remember model. I could look at it.
The Coral Sea has clear, warm water.
I can listen to it, but I cannot build my sentence with this up. I have to close out. We have different options where we could provide guided order. We could randomize the content here. We can really differentiate. However, this is pre-made in the same topic pack, if you will, as this, which is also pre-made, a topic tabbed word bank. Go ahead, Rose. Do you want me to go back to the sentence set?
no, you're good. Sorry, I was
Okay.
just
Oh, no
false
worries.
alarm.
No worries. So here we have a classic topic tabbed word bank. This you guys are familiar with word banks. These are for our kiddos who they might have all of their high frequency words down. They could come in, turn on the word prediction and get started, but they're going to need the content of a word bank to write about topic specific content. This is one style word bank we have. If I quickly jump back into my resources here, we also have a classic A to Z that you guys would be familiar with. We have a quick words where it would just be a single grid. What I'm getting at is we come prepared for you to support these different students in your classrooms. Of course, this could be edited. If I come into edit and I want to take away half the options so that students don't get distracted or overwhelmed, everything can be edited. Go ahead.
I do have one quick tip.
Yes.
So word banks, you look at this and go, oh, I don't have time to make one of those. but it can be as simple as a single page. You're sitting down with your student and you're again talking about the words with them together. They're maybe saying the words. You can type them in real time and then immediately save it and use it to do writing with in the same session. So you could even, as the teacher, be at the whiteboard creating a word bank with input from the whole class and just do a simple one. So it can be pre-made and more complex. It can be simple and generated in a session with your student or the whole class. So
yeah, absolutely.
It can be really easy too.
Yeah, Rose, you just said, if we're using what the class created, if we put this together as a class and then you wanted to give it back to them as a writing support, specifically a word bank, clicker set, new. I'm selecting a word bank. These will be Great Barrier Reef words. I'm gonna filter out some of the high frequency words and we'll throw pictures on those. Click OK, and there it is. Okay, so get rid of that.
Awesome. Yeah.
Excellent. So now we're in making a cake. Let's get back here. So we've been through the bulk of LearningGrids topic. We've introduced with a book. We've reinforced with a talk set. We've got students writing at a level that makes sense to them. At this point, I just want to start to talk about those different forms of expression. So we have a clicker board. I think, yes, this can always be used for planning for writing. I think this is also a nice way to give students a template for an end of unit project. So we're setting expectations in terms of what we want to see from that project, but they're responsible for filling that out. They can use the voice note to talk about these things. They can activate the word prediction to get some ideas started. They can paint their own pictures if they so choose. Maybe we have some waves going on here. I'll fill that in. Students are going to contribute in different ways to them. And the clicker board, because it allows for access to all of the features that we've talked about, it's allowing for these different forms of expression. So that's one option.
How do you share out the word banks or sentence sets for individual students to do in their own clicker?
That's a great question. That's a great question. So saving and sharing is an important aspect to using clickers. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is that the document is separate from the set. So these two pieces, all they are files. So we have a document file and we have clicker set files. Typically, it's that you're going to be either creating or downloading a clicker set, and then the student is going to produce the document. So if I'm the facilitator, I've gone into LearningGrids and I've found this sentence set that I want to get to my students. I'm going to save this as, you have to be in your clicker set ribbon because again, I'm saving a clicker set. I'm going to save that as, and this opens up my file explorer. So the easiest way, the most seamless way to share is to set up your home as a mirror image of how you're sharing. So we could share Google Drive, OneDrive, Dropbox, email, AirDrop. We have a bunch of ways to make that happen. But what I'm looking at right now, I've set up my home to mimic my OneDrive. And this is just a mirror image of my OneDrive. I could save that into an individual student folder or a class folder. If I want to save it to a specific student, I'll pop that in here. And then the student can navigate into from their side on their device and navigate into that folder. The other way to do this is email. You could attach something to an email, but the key is just understanding how to save what. So if I want to save what the student produced, I'm saving a document. If I want to provide a resource, an activity, I'm saving the clicker set. And just a little tidbit on setting up that home, Michelle, if you already have access to Clicker, you want to come into Options and Explorer. And in home, you could see I've just selected my OneDrive. And so every time I go to save, I'm able to access my OneDrive from home. So that's key to sharing seamlessly. Of course, if I save something, I could also navigate to my OneDrive from my desktop or my Google Drive to my desktop, but this makes it really clean and easy. If you're using iPads, you could AirDrop.
I'll just mention too that with younger students, it's like you can teach them the skill of logging onto their computer, going into their OneDrive and finding an activity and opening it. And maybe in the beginning, you're walking them through and showing them the steps, and you're opening it, maybe selecting 3 of the activities, and they're in the bottom of their screen. But now if they open and do them, when they save them, they should be going right into their own OneDrive if that's how you've navigated there. So, it's not like they can do it independently at first. Maybe older students could, younger students might need to learn that, but what a good computer skill to learn the navigation of how to go find an activity and open it. But that would be something that could be a goal too, to work on that. Okay, a couple more questions. Can you voice text to write inside the graphic organizer boxes?
You can, yeah. So the same way you can dictate to
I see that, yeah.
Yeah, I just popped those in there so that it
Okay.
would be saved. You would use the device dictation. Amy was kind enough to, on a Windows computer, dictation is Windows plus the H key. So to make that happen, you would just select that component and then activate the device dictation. And on an iPad, the same thing, you just have to select the component and then activate the dictation, and then that will work.
Okay, cool.
And then I saw there was, I think I might have missed a question. Nope, I didn't. And then what languages is it available in? So right now we're available in English, Italian, and Arabic. And the apps are available in those languages as well.
Well, now you do have some Spanish support, but it's
we have Spanish support through MFL. This is This is a download. It used to be a purchased add-on. Now it's really just something we share with people who we know could benefit from it. That comes in French and Italian, or excuse me, French and Spanish. And what that does, it opens up. What I haven't mentioned yet is the ability to change the voice, which of course we can do. We get access to Spanish and French accented voices, and that will then put typing, pronunciation, word prediction, and all of the typing options in Spanish or French. And it also comes with component stories and like comprehension activities. If you're doing the SETC trial and you want access to that, just shoot me an email and we could get you the download.
Nice. Thanks.
And I
all right, you guys have good questions. We're getting into some nitty-gritty. But we'll see, we have about 15 minutes left. We do have a couple more curriculum examples we want to get to, but this is great. I mean, Clicker is so huge, we could teach an all-day class. So I think we're covering a lot of territory today, and hopefully you're excited to practice and learn more. But this is an important thing. I'll let you.
Yes, before yeah, totally, it's fine. Before we get into some of those other examples, I just want to point out analytics, because this is essential for you guys. You need to be able to see how students are producing work, and more importantly than seeing how they built their work, do you know how to support them moving forward? And this gives you that data. So we have the writing on the left, the overall review on the right. You could see how many words in total, where they came from, and just to show an additional category here for the predictor. This is all of my purple words. This is going to show what I typed, where I use speech support, and then the word I selected from the predictor. So this is a real granular look at the document development. Yeah, and think about these IEP goals, right? So you're worried about maybe the time it might spend using Clicker. Well, think about the time it's going to save when whatever your students type, you can grasp the data and your data taking is done right there.
We asked for this for a long time, and it came out a
Yes.
few years ago, and it's just a beautiful analytic data system. So this is another great way if you need some points to make to administrators on why the rationale for using Clicker. This is a great one. Everyone wants to see data, right? And so, yeah, that's a great feature.
Awesome. Thank you, Rose. Okay, we're going to pop into our reflection. So head over to the Padlet. We already have a couple answers on this one, Rose, so I'm going to pull it up.
I see that. Okay. And so what's one writing task your students are struggling with right now? Someone said demonstrating written expression skills without a teacher scribe. Yes, this is pretty much if students don't have another tool like Clicker to write, they're just saying it and someone else is scribing. So I feel like Clicker helps meet that need. Motor differences inhibit access to speech to text, typing, and handwriting. We don't even get at all the details of how customizable Clicker is for students that have motor disabilities. There's expandable keyboards that can be customized. There's the switch access, 1 switch, 2 switches. There's lots of ways to customize, changing font size, changing color backgrounds for visual disabilities, so many things that are inherent in there. So know that we can jump in. That could be something that if you have a student you're thinking about specifically, we could jump on and do a free tech assist through SETC and brainstorm how to set it up for your student. And here, Tony's jumping in and giving you a quick visual on how she's changing and tweaking a bunch of things in real time right there.
The quickest overview. Yes, I think that's the accessibility is very important to touch on. Where eye gaze and switch accessible, but everything that I've shown you today is a default from how many suggestions show up in the predictor to the display. So if you're looking for custom color schemes, if you're looking for accessibility, it would all be found in your options ribbon.
All right. And the next person said, as far as what their students were struggling with, ordering sentences, spelling, and putting everything together. This is where I see a big gap is if you go straight to word prediction and you haven't worked on the sentence order and putting, the sentence structure piece. Spelling, you can do spell checks on a lot of different word processors, including Clicker, but that ordering and learning the sentence, even left to right, even learning how to punctuate, and then the picture support, I think, adds some more supports with comprehension in there too. So that's a great one. And then discuss Clicker features that might meet your students' need. Word banks. So someone really latched onto that one. Ability to click to put words in order and make sentences. So just what I just talked about. Very powerful. I experienced, just to go back to my research study, I did a pre-test where a good chunk of my students who were pre-writing, I said, write a story about an animal. They were scribbling and you couldn't tell what they were writing. By the end, after we'd done 8 weeks of training with Clicker and simple sentence writing and, ordered sentences, they were clicking in order. And we had significant improvement in their ability to produce. Even with those supports, it was in their head, but they didn't have a means to make it happen. So that's why I'm excited. After doing that research, I just was like, okay, this has to get in the hands of more kids that are still stuck scribbling or scribing, right? They need to be able to do it themselves. So you can tell I'm kind of passionate about that. Okay. I don't see anything else in there right now. So let's keep it going.
Okay, great. Let's move right along here. The next couple slides are really examples. Rose, I'm going to pass over to you for this.
Yeah. Just talking about universal design for learning. I think most of you are familiar with that term now. Offering multiple options for expression, not just paper pencil, which someone mentioned in one of the chats earlier, but they can talk it. If they don't want to write or type or hit a switch, they can say it if they're able to speak. They can brainstorm in a Clicker board. They could make a multimedia Clicker book, what happens to be sometimes much more engaging and offer more choices all within the book. They can publish it. They can read it to their parents. The writing grids, which you saw, the Connect Set, Word Bank, Sentence Sets, all the ways that you're developing that skill of sentence writing, developing into increasing vocabulary, word use, and then into paragraph writing, all with the grids, some of the grids like you saw examples of. And then the Clicker document. just starting with that different kind of word processor, where within the word processor, you can read aloud, you have word prediction, you have picture support if you want it, so many more things right in there, voice notes, painting right there, just in a regular word processor. If that's all you started with, it's also already a very rich resource. So many great options for writing. Okay, let's move on, because I want to get to a couple of those other curriculum clicker boards. I think you kind of showed some of these earlier.
Yeah, so I have some of these open. So we just have so many different options for clicker board, and you really don't have to make a lot of them. You have stuff that looks like this in LearningGrids, and then all of the templates. This green sea turtle one, I think, is a great example of students producing a project. And then additional examples we have are traditional story resources and letter writing. So this is an example of a traditional story resource here. We have our, our word bank. And then for letter writing, we have many sets like this to support students with letter writing. And of course, these things are all editable. Maybe I am writing to my brother, or the student I'm working with is writing to their brother. We could shift and click and put the name of the brother in there and edit that in real time for them.
I'll just mention too that some of the teachers I talked to about where could they implement it in like a 4th or 5th grade classroom, they were working on journal writing. And so we created some journal writing templates, kind of like what you saw for letter writing. And it was a great starting place where the teacher could use that for everyone in the class. But then we could make sure that the supports were embedded for the students that might need the extra supports, but they were doing the same activity. So these kind of generic letter writing, traditional story writing, and/or journal writing templates come in really handy when you're trying to convince a teacher to do a full class lesson, because everyone can relate to these.
I've included this here, editing tips. We've talked a bit about this, using LearningGrids, being able to share the templates that you create, and the ability to picturize. I think so that we could address the predictable chart writing and practical use. I'm going to move through this, Rose.
Yeah, sounds good. All right. Well, I got excited about this as an example because predictable chart writing, I know it's kind of a buzzword in the AT community right now. And talking about emerging writers, a lot of times what you start with is these very simple, predictable, repeatable sentences. Like, I like, and then I like this, I like that, I can see this, I can see that. So these repeatable, the first part of the sentence is the same, you just change the ending. So they can feel like they're writing multiple sentences or a paragraph, but they're just really choosing a different ending each time, which you can see it here. Going back to the other slide, Beth Potts, who's a national presenter and very knowledgeable SLP, she created for Clicker this predictable chart writing. You see the screenshot on the right, but there's like a pamphlet that's maybe 6 pages long. It talks you how to do a full lesson around this. Which is beautiful. Yeah, you can see this pamphlet right there. And it just starts with writing the chart and then doing the sentences. Where's that one? Yeah, you can see rereading the chart. You can see that I see working with sentence strips. So you might have some sentence strips that are, actual ones you can handle. And then being the sentence, you can see here the students' pictures. They each had a word, and together they could make a sentence, each having different part to play. And there's publishing a book piece. So it enables students who otherwise wouldn't be writers to become writers and have a book to publish and share in a very simple way. So just thinking of that quickly, maybe in your own mind, think of a book or a topic that you're teaching or that someone you work with is teaching. And is there a repeatable sentence starter that you can use to do some kind of predictable chart writing and use a clicker activity to do it? That's fantastic. Where can we find this document? It is in your handout. There's a link right under this slide. So you want to talk about those examples there really quick?
Yeah, really quickly. Rose had already discussed these, but we have several resources that would be able to support the predictable chart writing, which is further outlined here in the resource that will be made available to you after this.
Yeah, so you can see how simple it can be, the graphic organizer or sentence set. Either one of those are part of that process. So it's really simple, but very powerful. And then there's another resource that SETC has published through the wonderful volunteer work of Barb Lark, who's an SLP, who's been in our community in Everett for many, many years, and she's retired, but still active in her retirement. So she's created, based on the book, Comprehensive Literacy for All, a collection of storybooks that have suggested lesson activities that she's created. So you can see an example here on the right of that. Just below the slide on your handout, we gave you a link to all of the activity. I think there's like 100 books, and each of those has a page like this with activities. So what we're doing now is we're saying, okay, when you get down to expression part in the shared writing, what clicker activities might support that book collection? So I just took this as an example on the worm book here, and said, okay, there's a whole part where they're going to make a birthday cake as an activity. Well, hey, Clicker has two activities, right? This one, sequencing, and the other one's writing. And it has it all ready for you. Students can write at their level, or they can sequence if they're at a more beginning level. And that can be something that you easily grab out of LearningGrids and use to supplement a lesson like this, like Barb had. So I love that. And then can you go back to what was the third activity I had? Is it diary?
My journal.
Journal. Yeah. So again, like many teachers do, Barb said, well, if they had a journal writing activity about this, we have a pre-made journal right there in Clicker. This is a template where they can go in and fill in their own information, add their own pictures, and they can talk about it. There's a microphone there. They've got some word banks and sentence starters in there. So all the pieces are already framed for you, and it's ready to throw into a lesson that calls for some kind of a journal writing activity. Joni, you're so great. I love how fast she is. As I speak it, she's doing it. It's great. So anyway, you can see the power of that. And I think we're trying to really promote that. So if you're a teacher, we'd love to see how you're using this. If you're a specialist or an administrator or somebody that's a support person, please share this link to all of these book resources with your teachers. And know that right now, SETC, we're collaborating with Cricksoft to identify more activities like we did today that correlate with these stories. And we're actually going to put the active links in there as our next project this year. But you could do the same. You can look at that and go, oh, I'm going to go to LearningGrids and search for an activity on this topic. And likely you'll find one. Not always, but likely you will. And then if you need something, you can call us, because we have connections to how to find or create or support you in figuring that out to get started. So anyway, I love that resource. Yeah. Okay, we have about a minute left, but we want to tell you again a little more about the SETC Lending Library. We have a contract set up with Cricksoft where if we have students that come up in our consultations, or districts that come up that really want to trial this and they don't have access to it currently, but they want to have a good trial, they need data before they can bring it to their administrators for purchase, we can support you in doing that. So you can contact SETC and let us know your situation. We can start with a tech assist or a quick consult. And if this is something that your student needs, we can work with you to get them started on that.
And how we at Crick will support you, how I will support you. I will be available every step of the way to support the trials through the lending library. And if you guys are at this session, you're likely at a district or a organization in Washington, I am your consultant and very happy to help with whatever I can. Here are my contact details. Before I let you guys scoot, I do just want to show you the training hub on our website. I know we covered a whole lot today. This is, here we go. The bar was covering my toolbar here. So through the training hub, we have access to on-demand webinars, tutorials, Clicker basics, and then what you'll also have access to through our overall outline is the ability to book with me. So please do that. If you guys are using Clicker, we want to make sure that you get your questions answered. And with that, I think we'll open it up for questions, Rose.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording. Thank you so much for coming today. And then we'll hang out and answer more questions. And then that way, if you want to ask, if you're shy, we'll stop recording first. So thank you so much.